welcome to Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. The guest in the studio, everyone, is the mayor of Chattanooga, Mayor Andy Berke. Welcome to Dialogue with Deidre.
I'm glad to be here, and particularly you're saying Chattanooga with such enthusiasm. That's what we like to hear.
We love Chattanooga
that's
and
what
Memphis.
Yeah,
we
come
love Chattanooga.
everybody can come on over. Let's just make this a commercial for Chattanooga.
We love it. We love it. But we're glad to have you in our city. We know that you're here because the Young Democrats are having their first Obama Day event, and you're the speaker. So, I mean, this is a big deal. This is their very first Obama Day, and they have the mayor of Chattanooga, not the mayor of Memphis,
Right.
the mayor of Chattanooga as their guest speaker.
Well, I got the invitation, and I thought to myself, it never even occurred to me that there was going to be such a thing as Obama Day, and then I kind of had to say yes when I saw it. So it's great to be here. I love Memphis, and I love coming over here and have a lot of friends and so many great people. So got to drive around a little bit already, see people, and then happy to be on this show.
So glad you're here. I want to talk to you about the work that you're doing in Chattanooga. I think a lot of people who follow politics understand that you also served in the state legislature. How was that time?
I really enjoyed being there. It was a little bit of a different time than it was today, but I got to be there for several years and serve in the legislature, be on the Senate Education Committee during some really important work, and learn a lot about what was going on around the state, certainly the issues that were here in Memphis. And, I think it was time to leave when I left, and I enjoy what I'm doing now, but I'm also not a person that thinks a lot about the past, right? You got to do what you're doing, you do it the best that you can, and then you go do something else.
So right now, Mayor of Chattanooga, how has that been for you so far?
It's great. So Chattanooga last year, Outside Magazine called us best town ever. We got a lot of great things going on. When you're mayor, anything that happens that's bad, you take it personally,
right.
And sometimes that can be difficult. Anything that happens really well, though,
Kudos for you.
Well, it's a great moment to celebrate. And a lot of times I think about myself as in these different roles. You got to help run the government. You got to make sure that good things happen, but then you're also the salesperson for the community. And that's anytime you can walk around and say, hey, I'm the mayor of this city, and people say, oh, I love what's going on in Chattanooga, makes you feel good, and it gives you a chance to hopefully bring in another business, bring in somebody else to stay in a hotel, bring in somebody to live someplace in Chattanooga, and that's a great opportunity.
Well, and that's what it's all about. I mean, growing the economy, right, in Chattanooga. I know that's what the mayors here in Memphis want, to try and figure out what's the best strategies to bring industry into your community. And a part of what will negate new businesses coming in is violence, high crime rates. I know that you have an initiative in Chattanooga called the Violence Reduction Initiative. How's that going, and how are you working with your legislators on that initiative?
Well, so keeping people safe is the first job of government, and I know that people in Memphis certainly take a hard look at these issues too. And anytime there's violence, I get a text or a phone call from the chief, and sometimes that is a moment that we all have to sit and think about what's going on. So what we did was, when I came into office, we wanted to change the way that we police, because this was actually 3 years ago now, and there aren't bad neighborhoods and there aren't bad people. There are just a few individuals who are driving the violence in all our communities, whether it's Memphis or Chattanooga. And we needed to stop treating people like a whole neighborhood was bad. So if I came in, the police chief would talk about saturations. If we had a shooting in an area, we did saturations. Now, just the way that sounds tells you everything about the style of policing. And what I said was, we need to go to a different style where we know more about the people who are driving the violence, and we're intervening specifically with them. And so we started the Violence Reduction Initiative to say, we're going to do two things. Number one is, on the violence side, we're going to target the people who are driving the violence, not every young man, not every young black man, not entire neighborhoods.
So no profiling.
No profiling. we're gonna know specifically. It's by names.
Exactly.
By names. And then the second part is that we're going to offer people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the opportunity to change their lives and to get services that might provide a job, alcohol and drug counseling, GED services, all those things that we know young people need to have access to opportunity. And so we've worked on that hard over the last couple of years. And I think anytime there's violence in the community, people are looking to see, okay, well, is this working? Is it not? As you may know, many cities around the country have had huge spikes in violence over the last few years.
Yes.
And fundamentally, our numbers have been either a slight dip to about even. And so what we're trying to do is say, okay, number one is this is the right way to police. This is the right way to treat communities, and it's better and healthier for our city. Number two is we can't have those spikes that we've had other cities see, and we haven't. And number three is we got to drive the numbers down farther, and that's not just the violence reduction initiative. That's all the things that we're doing, community policing and reorganizing how we deal with juveniles. And so the combination of things makes our city a safe place.
So how's community policing working for you in Chattanooga? I know it was big here in Memphis back when Police Director Burgess was on board, and then under Mayor Wharton's administration, the former police director, Tony Armstrong, talked about it. Community policing was big on that. And how's it working in Chattanooga?
So I think lots of people like community policing but don't really know what it is. And so part of what we've spent the last couple of years doing is making sure that we clearly define for the officers what that is, and then we hold people accountable for making sure it happens. So community policing is really about engaging the community and making sure that they know you and you know them, because number one, that's the right thing to do, and number two is get better information from them when you have relationships. And so we've worked hard. There's no greater advocate for that than our police chief, Fred Fletcher. Many people saw him after July 16th on TV and the horrible incident that we had. No matter where you go
National news.
That's right.
I was in D.C. When that happened.
It was a horrible day, and a lot of the country saw the great leadership that he has and the work of our police department.
And you, Mayor, I have to give you kudos for how you were able to keep the community calm in that very tragic time period for your city.
Well, thank you very much. It was something I never expected to do, but the city responded really, really well. But no matter where I go, people say, hey, I ran into Chief Fletcher, and somebody told me the other night that he had a flat tire on Amnicola Highway, and all these cars were passing him, and then one unmarked car stopped on the side of the road and changed the tire for him. It was the police chief.
Nice.
So that's community policing. And for us to hold people more accountable, we're actually going through a process right now of trying to document more of how many times we interact with our citizens, what those interactions look like, so that we can say to officers, okay, we're saying we're doing community policing. We also need to show by the numbers that we're doing it, so that you don't, because if I'm doing something, I may think I'm doing it, but then you look at the statistics and it says, no, I'm actually just sitting in my chair a lot.
Right.
And so what we want to do is to be able to talk to officers and say, okay, how many interactions did you have this week? What were they like? Who were they with? And the more data that we can compile, the better off we can hold ourselves accountable for really having top quality community policing.
Sounds good to me. So, what made you decide to purchase 250 food vouchers from your local food bank for citizens? And how did you select those citizens?
Actually, this is one of the great parts of social media, and mayors used to get letters like this, but a woman sent me some messages on Facebook and said that her husband had recently lost his job, and he was going around trying to find the job and using the family car. And she had called and tried to get a food voucher. They had given her a site to go to, so she specially borrowed the car and then went there, and the vouchers weren't there. And then when they finally got a voucher, she missed it because she wasn't able to get the car. And we had another person or two tell us the story, and so we called up the food bank and said, what's going on? They said there was a huge shortage in 2 areas, and so We just went out and bought 250 vouchers to say, we know this doesn't solve the long-term problem, but we can solve this temporary problem, and gave them out, and then started a campaign that said, it was called on Twitter, of course, everything now is
Everything's social media now, Mayor.
So we did hashtag #GiveFiveV20, because every $5 that you give provides 20 meals.
Wonderful.
And we raised a little bit over $5,000 doing that. So you think that's about 20,000 meals on top of the 250 food vouchers.
That's wonderful, wonderful, great work. So what are some of the challenges? I know Memphis has its challenges. We talked about that offline. What are some of the challenges that you have in Chattanooga?
Well, I think, listen, we're both big cities. Memphis is a lot bigger than Chattanooga, but Chattanooga's a mid-sized city. If you go anywhere in the United States today, people are talking about inequality. They're talking about access to opportunity, being able to climb the social ladder. And it's frustrating to me when people think that they're stuck wherever they are, right? That they don't have the chance to move up in life, because that's what makes our country great. And so we've worked really hard to make sure that more people have access to opportunity. Chattanooga has seen a lot of positive economic movement in the last 3 years. I happen to know these statistics because something about 3 years ago in an election makes me know them, right? So our unemployment rate has dropped 2.5%, around that. But importantly to me, in 2014, Chattanooga had the third highest wage growth in the country for a mid-sized city.
That's amazing.
And so what we want to see is not just more jobs, that's great, but we actually want to see better paying jobs. When people get more money in their pocket, they spend it on their home, in the restaurant, buying a toy for their kid, all around the community, and again, that grows things economically. So we want to be able to see not just economic development growth for businesses, but we want to see wages rise, and that again lifts the tide for everybody.
No, as a former legislator, we passed a living wage on the county level, and I know the city did too. I think a few years back, the state government, I think, banned that.
I was there.
Were you there?
I was there. I voted no, but I was there.
Okay, and so, I mean, I just think that it's important. I mean, you have so many, specifically here in Memphis, where so many families are barely making ends meet, and a living wage is important.
So as a city government, we went through and tried to make sure that everybody in our city government was making $10.10 an hour when the president started talking about that, and we wanted to. You can't be a hypocrite, right? If you're going to talk about these things, you want to do it right ourselves. And we've worked really hard to make sure that Chattanooga is an example for how you can do that right. And we continually try to find ways to showcase how businesses are able to do right by their employees, and that's better for the business.
It is.
Because for us now, we know in this world, talent is what drives economic growth. It used to be all kinds of other things. If you got good people doing smart things, you're just a step ahead of everybody else, and that's true whether you're a government or a PR firm or a tech company. And so we know that people are precious, and that's part of what makes our cities hum.
Mayor, I know we talked before the show started about a piece of legislation that you had passed when you were a state representative regarding reentry. What are your thoughts on the whole ban the box concept for government?
Well, we're working hard on that right now, and what we want to do is we want to get the best person for the job.
Exactly.
And if that person happened to have a felony 20 years ago, we still want to be able to hire that person. And for us, it's actually going to take a charter amendment because we haven't been able to do that in our city, and we're in the process right now of trying to. Well, the city council voted to put the charter amendment on the ballot, and so that's going forward. Again, to me, I try to tell people it's not that we're never going to look at the question, right? It's the question is, are we going to take all the factors into consideration and then figure out who's the best person for the job? And I think that's what our country is about on every level, is how do we get the person who's most qualified into the job so that it's best for the city? And when we do our job better, when we get the best person in the job, it helps the constituents, right? And they're
Right.
ultimately the ones who are receiving the services, and that's what we want to be able to do.
So how long have you been a public servant?
I got elected in 2007, so that's what, it seems like 40, 50 years ago now.
I know it grates you, but you're not quite there yet.
I don't know. Someday I don't know. Maybe I need to start dyeing the hair. You think it's about time?
No, it's distinguished.
Okay, all right. I'll wait. I'll wait.
So, what is it about? Because I know, I mean, you're an attorney by trade. So, what makes you so passionate about your service?
Well, when I was young,
Because you could go just practice law and make a whole lot of money.
well, I mean, I think that when I was young, my dad was a lawyer, but he was a lawyer who represented people. We didn't, the family, my grandfather too, didn't represent corporations as very rarely, and so I would remember I'd be in a restaurant and somebody would come up to my dad and he would say, "Listen, I don't know if you remember me, but a couple years ago, you helped me out with something, and it was really a big deal to me, and I got my life back on the right track, and I just want to tell you thank you, and that he'd move on." And my dad and my granddad and their example was always, what can we do at the end of the day that makes people's lives better? And that's the way they thought about their law practice, was not just the law side, but how was it that what they were doing was making people's lives better? And to me, that translated completely into what I wanted to do in government, is just to say, all right, at the end of the day, no matter what mechanisms you use, you got to make sure that people's lives are a little bit better. And I think it was the example of just seeing that that's what my family was like growing up, and that was the values that they taught me that inspired me to want to do this.
So let's talk about the future. 3 years ago, you were elected mayor of Chattanooga. Thinking about running for re-election, or thinking about running for something else, a little statewide? Governor. Because I know your name's been, all across the state, people are talking about it.
Well, for me, what I try to do every day is do my job as good as I can, and this is true. In the fall of 2011, all my friends were saying I should run for mayor, and I kept telling, my good friends, I wasn't lying, I was telling the truth. I'd say, not going to happen, never going to happen, not going to do it. Not to the press, I'm talking about to my friends. And then at the end of the day, a few months later, I was all in, because I saw what I thought the mayor of Chattanooga could do, and said maybe I have some special things that I can add to the role that would be helpful. So that experience has taught me a lot, which is do your job, try to do it the best that you can, and then make decisions as they come along, and that's the way I try to treat life.
And just never say never.
Well, again, if I don't go out and do my job really well in Chattanooga, it doesn't matter.
Then we won't want you.
It doesn't really matter. So
Right.
the only thing that I can control is, do I get up in the morning, do I try to do the best job that I can, and do we make progress as a city?
Well, Mayor, I just have to say that you are at the top of a lot of Democrats' lists.
Well, thank you.
And we're going to be very pushy and prayerful at the same time, and know that you're going to continue to do a great job as the mayor of Chattanooga. But we're looking at you across this state thinking, maybe he'll wake up one day and think, maybe I want to run this state and do great things for more of Tennessee than you're already doing.
Oh, that's very nice. In the meantime, just everybody come to Chattanooga.
We will. We'll come
All
and
right.
visit. Mayor Berke, thank you so much for being on Dialogue with Deidre today.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoy your time in Memphis.
I know I will.
Okay, and the next time you're in town, you're always welcome. You're watching Dialogue with Deidre. Check us out on Facebook. Make sure that you let us know what you think about this show. We were so happy to have Mayor Berke in the studio today. So we'll see you on Monday. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.